Week 14, welcome everybody. We will be talking about the practical application, the follow-up subjects attached to healthcare and medicine. So job application, review, interviews, curriculum vitae, and everything else that has to do with the career path, the profession, the jobs that students might consider embarking on at the end of this course or at the end of their academic program. Without further ado, let's begin with our slideshow.
Slideshow will be much shorter than all previous slideshows, simply because when we talked about resume and curriculum vitae, we think about practice writing. In this lecture, I will briefly examine the difference between resume and curriculum vitae. I will give you some advice on how to write and how to conduct an interview and an application for a new job. But again, I will really encourage you to click on the provided links and try to create your own to familiarize with the process and with the writing style. So part one, job leads and the resume, the curriculum vitae. A curriculum vitae is an exhaustive listing of all the significant achievements in your career. Okay. Now, the vitae, it's the genitive, the possessive term in Latin from vita, which is life. All right. So it can also be spelled as VITAE. All right. It's the same thing. This includes education, research, work experience, publications, presentations, and anything else you've done in your profession. This is important. A curriculum vitae is the most accepted form of professional accounting internationally and is usually more detailed than a resume. Okay. So if you work on a curriculum vitae, then your resume will be a summary, you could say, of your CV. In practice, again, a resume is a summary of your career, whether yours is just getting started or has been going for years. Coming around 1 page in length to only under specific circumstances, it showcases the jobs you've held and currently hold, the responsibility you've taken on, the skills you develop, and the qualities you bring to the table. This is an important distinction when we are navigating the complexity of a job application. Now, I should also mention that, as you can expect in academia and scientific research, we have to provide certain elements such as peer-reviewed publications and job posts or other areas of research, funding and grants, etc., etc. So then itself will create a much more complex and more detailed document as opposed to a general overview of your professional career. Now, in the third slides, some examples here of an international curriculum vitae format called the Europass, all right, which you can find in all languages of the countries members of the European Union by clicking on this link, and you can also create your own. So this will be a really good start to be able to create a document that will be widely accepted with all the elements in place, so that you don't start your job application missing one or more areas. Now, of course, in the United States, Europass format is not mandatory, but it's a really, really good professional way to present yourself to a possible future employer in this sense. For the perspective of the United States curriculum vitae format instead, this is another website from the Illinois Graduate College. It also provides some good advice on how to write it. You cannot fill it up online. This is simply a PDF document with some basic guidelines that I'll encourage you to browse, but you can also compare this to systems. Now, in this slideshow, at least I want to give you a very brief comparison between the two formats. So you can see on the left side, you have the European Union Curriculum Vitae, the Europass, and on the right side, a template with a John Doe United Resume. Now, the format in terms of size is also going to be different, right? The Europass being a European model tends to follow the A4 format, so 210 by 207, all right, or 8.27 inches by 11.69, versus the United States letter sheet is called the US letter. So they're slightly different in shape. Another important difference is that a professional curriculum vitae usually contains a picture of the applicant, okay, or the scientist, okay, and you have personal information right on top. They include identifiers, date of birth sometimes, and well, most of the time date of birth, contact information, etc., etc. And then more specific elements, including education, work experience, etc. In the United States equivalent, the picture often is not present, okay, but you can find a general address on top. Now, I would say that as long as the document is professionally constructed, then this will be a good way to start. Now, there might be some differences and some opportunities for changes and edits in style and format. But overall, if you click on the links I provided above and you can take a look at these different formats, then this will provide at least a good professional start to write a curriculum vitae that is appropriate for the job you would like to obtain. So it's a really good presentation of yourself and your professional career. All right, in general, there are a few things to keep in mind. You had to present yourself in the best possible ways, also in connection to the job that you are applying to. So for instance, there is a debate, should we include any extracurricular activities as part of your resume? Well, I would say that if it's pertaining to the type of job that you would like to apply for, then this will make sense. But I always want to encourage you to be careful in the way they provide this information, because you don't want to appear as I'm really trying to fill the gap between, let's say, this degree and the degree obtained with a 10 years break, or the reason why I wasn't in the workplace for, let's say, X amount of years. There has to be a reason for everything you provide. Now, if some of your extracurricular activities can also be qualified as internships or school work experiences, for instance. Now, that is an area where you can certainly include that. Whether you want to include the specific years and month, this is also something that is specific to the different formats, curriculum vitae versus US resume. But overall, the best way to familiarize with this format is to actually have them in front of you and compare the two systems. Wonderful. So a few more things. In part 2, interview, portfolio, and application. Now, it's really impossible to present all possible case scenarios where you're going to be interviewed by a possible future employer, but there are general rules that I would like all students to keep in mind. Now, those rules are not too different from the rules that an expectation that a college or university level class has in terms of the proper communications. And I use this as a general description of certain misplaced assumptions that unfortunately some students have when they communicate with their professors. So let's begin with a general description of what I mean by that. Professional communication, part 1. In all communication, whether during an interview, to present a portfolio, a CV or resume, or to submit a job application, we have to maintain a professional, respectful, and informed style, syntax, grammar, structure, layout, and overall attitude. What do we mean by that? Well, we mean that several things. First of all, please practice, 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 and also do not rely on computers all the time. You should be able to write with proper syntax, grammar, with a good handwriting style. You should know spelling, you should know the language you utilize, the proper jargon, technical terms, etc. And you also need to be presenting yourself in your best possible way, which is not to say you have to change who you are. You simply need to bring the best part of you in front of the potential employer, okay? It's not about faking, it's not about sugarcoating things. It's for your own benefit. The more you utilize a proper language, a proper attitude and professionalism, the more this becomes part of who you are. And so this is something that you can start right away contemplating already during your college years. Wonderful. So some example of what not to do. This is something that I already posted in our course modules, something that unfortunately I witness still far too often in communication with my students, all right? There are things that we have to be mindful of, and we have to do this as soon as possible, right? Because otherwise you will compromise any potential further communication with your employee. So those are just some examples that are real, that I personally received in either job applications for possible future employees or for my students. Now, I have to say that if any of these elements or way to describe, for instance, the content of an email are present, in the vast majority of cases, the email will not even be read in full, will be just discarded. Now, it is true that there might be some elements of, I don't know, empathetic attention, because of course you could also think of language barriers or other ethnocultural factors when writing English. But these are more a justification of the type of syntax, grammar mistakes you can find, not the overall attitude, all right? So what not to do? Nothing, no information, no introduction, no content. For instance, you send an email and you send an email with an attached file, a curriculum, you don't say anything. This will be automatically rejected unless it's already in the spam folder, okay? So you have to introduce yourself properly. You have to write something appropriate in the subject of your email as well as in the overall text description of it, in the body of your email, right? And the same thing happens, of course, when we're talking about regular mail. You have to have the proper identification for yourself and the person you're sending your letter to, right? Other example, hi, I'm interested in the job. This is too informal, definitely not professional, wrong grammar, wrong syntax, and so this is, again, a very bad way to start a conversation. Where do I submit my stuff? Again, no introduction, very poor choice of words, stuff especially, and complete disregard from basic greeting forms here. Hi, what's due next week? So the following one are mostly related to students, okay? Starting an email with hi or hey, it's extremely improper, inappropriate, and unprofessional. This is not to moralize the content of the email, but I just want students to be aware of that, so that the more you work on yourself already while you're in college, the better prepared you're going to be to go to the marketplace, to the next step in your life. So never start an email with hi or hey, okay? Again, what's due next week in this context also tells the person who's reading the email that you did not actually do your work. You did not read the information posted on the website or whatever system you utilize. And this is true also for the job market. You cannot say, well, where do I submit? Where is the job, for instance? Where is the job posting? You have to be informed. Unless, of course, there might be some technical difficulties or their system is down for repair, in which case you should point it out properly. Hey, I want to retake the exam. Hey, I need to make up the exam, okay? Or, hey, I want to resubmit the application. Hey, I need to make up the whatever, the format that I sent that was wrong. Again, this usually is not even considered. And this is not because we have to have, I don't know, a snobbish, detached, arrogant attitude about the conversation. But it's simply want students to familiarize with the proper way to approach that, okay? Personal names. John, I need extra days for the quiz. Well, unless you use the proper form, and you have to be informed, okay? You have to make sure that you utilize the proper title. Professor, doctor, or in absence of degree, Mr., Miss, etc. You have to know whom you're writing for, okay? I do understand that in the United States, the use of title is somewhat more relaxed than abroad, okay? So that at times, especially among colleagues, you might be more prone to be informal, but the more formal you are to begin with will give you the chance to present yourself in the proper professional form. And then if the person to whom you wrote an email, you wrote a mail, ask you to please utilize John instead rather than Professor whatever, Smith, then at that point you might want to switch. But otherwise, this is really bad practice. And again, it might result of your application never being received in the first place, or your emails completely ignored by the person you're writing to, okay? Lol, I forgot to send the quiz. Lol, I forgot to send the application. Again, LOL it's very informal. We're not here to moralize, but this type of jargon is not indicative of a professional attitude overall. What's up? I missed class, but I'll be there next week. What's up? I didn't hear from you, and I'll apply next week. All of these are extremely funny, but completely inappropriate in professional communication. So those are just some examples. And of course, this is not to be judgmental or labeling situations. Even professionals will use a different jargon, whether they are at work or they are meeting friends outside of the workplace. But this is a bit to avoid any disappointment to students that might not be familiar with this type of communication. Now, this can be very complex and complicated, so if there's any further question, you might not sure whether something is proper or not, feel free to email me and we will work on these specific areas of professional communication. Wonderful. So just a few more things here. That's the last slide. Some examples for proper writing styles are available at Email Etiquette Guidelines for Writing to Your Professors in the website, already posted on course main page. Okay, but I wanted to include this website here as well, and basic APA guidelines. I mentioned this before. In this specific course, I am flexible. I will accept papers either in APA, AMA, Chicago, Harvard, etc., as long as they're well structured, precise layout, good grammar, good syntax, good choice of words. But this is a good introduction to professional writing in APA style.
Brilliant. That was the very last slide for this slideshow, this week's topic, as well as this course. So I hope you enjoyed the things we had the opportunity, and in my case, the honor and privilege to be discussing with you all. And I will see you hopefully again in your near academic future. Thank you very much, and all the best to all of you. Bye-bye.